Hey everybody! Welcome to Let's Look at Child of Light. Child of Light is the new puzzle platformer mixed with a turn-based RPG with some other kind of adventure elements in it as well, from Ubisoft. And it was developed by Ubisoft Montreal, and it has part of the team that I believe worked on Rayman Origins and maybe even Rayman Legends. And it's part of Ubisoft, at least if I'm building a narrative here that's accidental, I apologize, but it seems like it's part of Ubisoft's strategy to have big studios working on kind of smaller games that allow them to be a little bit more artistic, a little more creative, a little bit more risky. You might, for example, think of Far Cry Blood Dragon as an example of that, and Child of Light seems to be something that's pretty similar. This is $15, I believe, available on Xbox One, PS4, Steam, through Uplay. You do have to boot it through Uplay, which I know is going to bug a lot of people, but at least there's no online multiplayer connectivity for this to completely break in Uplay on PC, as it is a little bit broken in Black Flag and Splinter Cell Blacklist. In any case, Child of Light, the antithesis of those games, not just in name. We're going to start playing it. I've played about an hour and a half so far. I actually quite like it. I saw some trailers for this before it came out, and was kind of like, doesn't really look like it's my style. There are some problems I have with the game, even this early into it, but all things considered, I think this is actually a pretty solid game that I didn't find myself expecting to like, but surprisingly found myself liking. The first negative thing I am going to mention is a lack of multiple save files means that unfortunately I'm going to have to play a little bit of the game sight unseen here, which I always am discouraged from doing just in case we reach a really slow or spoiler heavy point of the game. And, you know, spoiler warnings if you are concerned about the story. The narrative of the game is something that's pretty important. I'm pretty early on in the game, but this is also, you know, pretty early, or pretty short, I should say, of a game, I would have to imagine, based on the fact that I'm on Chapter 4, and each chapter seems to be about 15 minutes long. I wouldn't expect there to be, like, you know, 100 chapters. Let's talk about what we've got going on here, though. Obviously, one of the biggest selling points of Child of Light is this really cool kind of, like, watercolor art style, and it really knocks it out of the park. I'm playing this on a, you know, 23-inch PC monitor or something like that, and it maybe doesn't do it justice in the video, but it looks really, really good in motion, and it runs at a consistent frame rate, at least on my machine, and works totally fine. And it makes me want to pick this up on one of the consoles, not because they're more powerful, but because I have a TV that would maybe showcase this in a little bit more grandeur. As mentioned, this is a puzzle platformer mixed with an RPG. It's got some weird Super Mario Galaxy elements here, like, for example, you may have seen me just disturb this plant. By doing that, I got these orbs to show up. Then I can use the right analog stick and kind of control this slime/firefly thing here and pick up these orbs, and in doing so, that'll allow us to get orbs that will replenish our HP and MP, as well as the light meter that we have for our firefly, which is useful. It can do things like illuminate and slow enemies in battle. The battle system's pretty unique. Let's move on here as we start going. And actually, hopefully getting involved in some combat over the course of this video, although it does appear that I'm actually in a town here. Another thing I would like to say is that the story is actually quite good as well. Basically, we play as this little girl, Aurora, and Aurora is like an Austrian princess, or I guess she would be a duchess in Austria in like the 19th century, and her mother died, and she was very close to her father, and then her father remarried, but he remarried an evil woman, at least that's what the implication is, and one day Aurora just doesn't wake up in the real world, and her father is crushed, but she wakes up in this kind of dream world, which is where we are right now. So she's trying to get home. Let's talk to this person. Everyone talks in rhyme, by the way, so I'll do my best to play that up, because it is a very, like, storybook, fairy tale type feel. Excuse me, sir, have you the sun or moon within this well? We have to get the sun and moon to actually escape the dream. Hurrah, princess, you came! Most certainly not, can't you see? I'm all alone again. I don't hear any rhyming. My grandpa and I are casters, keeping the village safe from demise. I left a couple of days before to replenish our supplies. Okay, maybe I just missed the rhyme earlier. And zounds, the Dark Queen cursed him akin to birds. The water of Leth would cure him in. I have to make the journey down, but fear has... Poor man. Okay. My rhymes are not as good, but in a literary sense it works anyway. So I think we are maybe going to go down the well here. And that's good, because I imagine there'll be some combat here. You said you cast spells? Aye, princess, I'm one of the best. In the well, it will be put to the test. Hurrah, Finn here! Aurora, do not call me princess. Alright. So I think we have a new party member. We do have a party system. I'll explain that as we get a little bit further along and actually start experiencing the gameplay with exception to the story as well. Now, the way that this works, I would almost describe this game, and we haven't really seen too much of the actual gameplay so far, and I apologize for that, but again, that's why I like having multiple save files, so I can guarantee that we're at kind of an action-rich area. This looks like it's going to be a dungeon, though. And again, we can use the right analog stick to pick up some of these orbs. If you pick up the orange ones first, then you actually get that reward at the end. Let's try to fight the spider, and I'll explain what's going on. You don't start with the ability to fly, by the way. So it kind of, this reminds me of, like, imagine South Park: The Stick of Truth, which I imagine most of you have at least seen gameplay for, if not playing it yourself. But it's set on a 2.5D plane, which I guess South Park was. Did I say Star Park: The Stick of Truth? I'm an idiot. Disregard me. And what I mean by that is that we can actually choose to walk into battles or not walk into battles. And we can also kind of influence whether or not we start on an even footing, or if we get the jump on them, if we ambush them, or if they ambush us, depending on how we kind of initiate the battle. So, this is a very, you gotta bear with me here as I explain the battle system, because it is a little bit conventional, but with some twists that make it kind of interesting. So, we're gonna stick with our existing party for now, because I'm familiar with what we've got going on here. We have a Jester, who is kind of like our healer, but also a really good damage dealer, because she has a higher level than we do right now. And then we have Aurora, who is kind of just like our physical standard class. Why is the standard class in RPG, like the main character class, always melee? I don't know. A little weird, but basically the way that this works is I want you to take a look, and I'll use my Firefly here to show you what's going on down here at the bottom. There is a weight meter and a cast meter. When you hit the cast meter, you get the option to act, and you can see where everyone is, so our party members are going to go first. We have a few options. We can use potions, we can attack, we can switch our party if we want to, but I'm actually just going to use Slash, and we'll use Slash on the spider, so you can see how that works. Depending on the cast time, some of them are going to be very long, some of them are going to be short, some of them are going to be medium. That will determine how fast you move through the cast timer, or the cast portion of the meter at the bottom. So you can see that Tumble here, its cast time is short, so it should cause the Jester to move very fast, very quickly I should say, through that portion of the screen. And that's exactly how it went. Now I paused it for a second, because I want to show off another kind of cool mechanic in Child of Light that has you constantly kind of like micromanaging the enemies. So with our Firefly, it is a little gimmicky, but it's also kind of cool. We can hold the left trigger, and then if we hold the left trigger, it will drain our light meter on the upper left side of the screen, but it will also slow the enemy. So as you can see, the spider, if I move my thing down here, it got slowed, and if you look at when the Firefly is over it, you can see that this is how you know we're going to affect it. And we can do the same thing with the kind of like weird wyvern thing here. But what's interesting about this is that a big part of the strategy of Child of Light, and I am playing on normal difficulty, there's only normal and hard, so it's kind of a more binary system than typical, is that it has this interruption system. So when you get the option to choose an attack, that attack, as mentioned, has kind of like a cast speed associated with it. If you don't choose Defend, which is also on here, in the action menu, I should say, then you can get interrupted if you've already chosen an action. Let's see if we can see that in action here, because it's kind of hard to explain. Hopefully the spider doesn't just die here. So I've selected Slash on the spider. As you can see, the spider is now in their casting phase. So if they chose to do an attack, we can interrupt them and bump them way further down the meter. And we could possibly do even the same thing here if we do another tumble. So we'll try to slow this spider as much as we can. And we're going to get 2 attacks in here. Oh, they dodged it, so you will see the interruption here, presumably. Good. Well, it died, actually. I'll try to get another interruption working there. This speed on this thing is going to be nuts. But let's see if we can make this work. So, this time, I will still use Tumble. Tumble does the most damage. And I'll choose Slash here. And we'll see if we can get an interruption. The Tumble shouldn't do it, but I believe that our Slash will do it. So notice where the enemy is, and then when we interrupt... Oh my god, we just killed them because we're too strong. I will say, the game has been pretty easy so far. It's another comparison to South Park: The Stick of Truth that I believe holds true. We have to get out of here! Calm down, master your fear. There's only a few and a half of us. You could just disappear. That's unlikely. Maybe I'll try using that new party member, but I don't like to rock the boat in RPGs for the most part. If something already works, then I like to kind of stick with it. So in addition to that kind of battle system, which I'll do my best to do a better job of showing off as we get a little bit further along here, wonder if we can use our... Yeah, no? Oh, we can just get through here. It was a little scary of me. I think by getting that, we get some extra HP. HP Stardust. I should open our inventory menu and check that out just for a second. What's HP Stardust? Permanently increase HP by 5. Yeah, I'm going to use that, and I'll use it on Aurora because I'm consistently going to be using her 100%. Permanently increase defense by 3. Permanently increase magic. Perfect. Anyway, I'll talk about the skills system here a little bit later. It's very simple compared to most RPGs, which I actually appreciate. But yeah, this is a little bit more of the platforming aspect of the game. It does have a decent mix of kind of turn-based combat and puzzle platforming. The puzzle platforming is pretty superficial, but It's there. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so much. I wonder what happens if we do this. Does that just stop the... Yeah, that stops these things from working. Kind of sounds like it's on a timer, though, and they'll come back in a second. Not that that was difficult in the first place. So here's what I mean when I talk about the difficulty of the game. I do think that by giving you the option to kind of stun enemies by blinding them like this and then causing you to get in combat with them, it makes it way too easy to get ambushes on enemies. This should be a surprise strike, which means that we basically get a free action. I do think that makes things too easy, and I'm going to try a different attack here. This is Light Ray, which is a very strong attack that is very powerful against dark creatures, which I think most of these creatures are. Let's see how much damage this does. 43, that's actually not that much more than our actual slash. Oh my god. That crit didn't actually kill him, which is surprising to me. But yeah, it makes it really easy to kind of fight battles on your terms. And I realize that I'm saying this, and I recently just said I'm playing on normal, and there is a hard difficulty in the game. And whenever this happens, people are like, well, why don't you just play it on the hard difficulty then, if it's too easy for you? I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't want to like go into a game that I'm not familiar with and then just all of a sudden play on hard right away, because it could like really backfire on me. Maybe I wouldn't be able to beat any of the enemies. So I do think there's a little, perhaps not fantastic difficulty balancing in the game. Normal should really be called easy mode, and it's kind of a very minor complaint to have, and a complaint that is not necessarily... You're seeing the interruptions here, I hope, by the way. This one is going to be very good. Yeah, well, it killed him, but he would have been interrupted. It's a very minor complaint to have, but it still is a little bit of a complaint. If I'd known that normal would be so easy, I probably would have cranked it up to hard, and I don't think you can change midway, but don't quote me on that. You might be able to. What I want to talk about, this is a perfect segue. Even though our party member was not in the fight, he leveled up. This is one thing that I like a lot about Child of Light, is that it really simplifies those kind of like hardcore RPG mechanics where, you know, you level up in something and it's like, okay, you get stat points. Where do you put those stat points? And then you get skill points, and then, you know, there's loot and there's gear. Child of Light really distills RPGs down to a very basic experience and kind of like gem mechanic. So we don't have control over how we level up, and I kind of like that. I didn't like it in Diablo 3, I'll admit, so I might sound like kind of a hypocrite. But this stuff, all these stats behind the screens getting leveled up, I am totally okay with. And the fact that there's no loot is actually awesome in my mind, because really in RPGs, I know a lot of people love loot. Not really my style. Games like Borderlands, games like Diablo, even Torchlight, stuff like that, I really... I just kind of get exhausted getting all this loot, and like 80% of it is bad, and then 10% of it is a few percentage points better than what I'm currently using, and then a little bit of it is truly exceptional and meaningful. Child of Light basically does away with all that, which I think is really smart, to be honest with you. A lot of people I've seen, you know, the press and the reviews of this game are disappointed that it makes RPGs too simple. I think it's a little too easy, but I appreciate it as a simplification with the kind of like spreadsheet style gameplay. I like strategic games as well, but for this, I kind of like that it's a little bit more of a casualized experience, and I'm not afraid to say it. It does have a little bit of customization. You get these oculi, which are effectively gems. So let's remove all of the gems that we have equipped on all of our party members right now, and I'll show you how this system works. So oculi, again, basically gems. What we can do is actually craft these, but first I'll show you like what they do if you slot them into weapon slots. So a rough sapphire adds water damage to melee attacks, and this shows you what it's strong against. Ruby adds fire, emerald adds lightning, and that's basically it. And of course, as you might expect, if you put it in a shield, then it increases your damage resistance for that element. And if you put it in your, this is kind of like a speed area. Pardon me for that. There's not really anything I can do about it. Like, it's like a speed and magic type area, basically, like a miscellaneous slot, so these have varying effects here. But we can craft oculi, and there's a few different ways we can do this. One thing we can do is take, you know, 3 rough gems, like an island song here, and then craft them, and that'll make a tumbled gem, which is a slightly better version. And then you can also, I believe, let's see if this works. So we put a tumbled and a ruby and a sapphire we can't craft. Okay, so they've got to be gems of the same type. But I will make a better ruby. What you can do is if you have 3 gems of the same quality but different kinds, like a ruby, a sapphire, and an emerald, then you can create a white gem, I think, as you can see here. Maybe that's just a random gem that's tumbled. I'm not totally sure, though. Anyway, or maybe it's a diamond that has better effects. So I'm going to put the rough ruby, or sorry, the tumbled ruby into our weapon, and then we might as well give ourselves some earth damage resistance. Why not? And sure, +4 max HP seems pretty useful. And then on our Jester party member, we'll basically do the same thing here. Add some water damage and some earth resistance and some 5% chance of evading an attack. That seems useful. Now, we also do have some customization in skills, and it looks more complicated than it is. Let's go to Aurora, who is our main character here. She has no skill points because she hasn't leveled up, but this is a bad example then. Let's actually go to the party member we just got. So it's kind of a skill tree, but it has different roots poking out of it that you can start from. Yellow skills are skills that we already have. You can't really choose where to go. Like, you can't just pick anything on this grid, which is good because it actually simplifies it a little bit. Instead, you kind of pick a path. So we can look at what's coming later here and see if maybe we want to pick 5 HP, strength plus 2, speed plus 1, physical defense plus 5. That seems really useful. Or we can go down this way, and a lot of the skills kind of have overlap, but you can also unlock new attacks this way. And this, I mean, they all have some fairly similar things going on here, but I prefer to take a relatively passive tier. So we're going to try to basically just go as far as we can in this direction. Not that I'm going to use this character anyway. I really thought I could get out of there. You can, of course, be hurt by things in the environment as well. So yeah, that's a pretty decent overview of Child of Light's, the different mechanic systems that it's got going on. So see, this thing is now alarmed. If we get hit by it, we get ambushed. Or if we run into it, then we'd be on an even footing. But we can always, like, very, very easily maneuver behind enemies and get surprise strikes, which I do think makes the battles substantially easier. I haven't even come close to dying, and I haven't even used a heal so far in this episode. Not that we've been, you know, playing for a long time, but there is a heal that I have, and I just never have to use it, or very rarely have to use it, because it just hasn't been an issue so far. And the other thing that's kind of, like, you know, conducive to that is in the middle of these fights, there's also, you know, HP and MP that you can just kind of pick up by using your Firefly. What is really cool about the battle system, and that I'll admit, is I really enjoy the interruption system, and it forces you to be a little bit more, you know, prudent about which enemies you're attacking. See, we interrupted that enemy, which worked totally fine. That enemy's vulnerable to fire. It's also neat. We might be able to get 2 interruptions here. It's also neat that you can. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Just give me a second here, see if we can interrupt this guy. Ooh, yep, barely, as long as he doesn't dodge it. Oh, he died anyway. Basically what I'm getting at is it gives you kind of a neat play on existing, like, JRPG or turn-based RPG style mechanics to constantly have to be, like, juggling enemies. Oh, they're water resistant. That is, and fire resistant? Okay, well, I'll use my special attack then. Yeah, basically, you have to be a little bit more focused, and, you know, as compared to something like South Park, The Stick of Truth, I do kind of prefer the battle system in this, although I do think South Park is probably a better game overall. But I have enjoyed my time with Child of Light so far, and may actually find myself finishing it. You know, it reminds me of, like, a mixture between, I wonder if we can, I might as well just get a heal or something out here. Let's use an action, and you can see the heal work. Not that we need to use it right now, but we might as well, so you can just see it, you know, as it works. I totally forgot what I was going to say. What I was going to say is I may find myself finishing it, and it kind of reminds me in some ways of, like, the Banner Saga, for example. It's a beautiful game, little flawed, but it's the kind of game that I can actually get behind. So a little bit of a mixture of, like, the Banner Saga, a little bit of a mixture of South Park: The Stick of Truth, mixed with a puzzle platformer of some quality. I don't know why the spider is so hard to kill. I should really maybe remove those gems from my weapon that are making it very difficult for me to kill those spiders. So we get some skill points, and we level up. Again, I like that stuff is kind of handled automatically, but your mileage may vary. I like to go for passive, so I'm going to increase physical defense by 5. And on our Jester, we've got a lot of stuff unlocked here. We're going to go with increases the chance of dodging. We'll go with increases physical defense by 5. And we'll do a little bit more exploration here. I don't know exactly how long Child of Light is, but it does strike me as kind of a short game. Oh no, we'll never get through. Remember the door in the tree? What do? Don't worry, wait and see. I have the worst cadence for reading these rhymes. I know, it's like I've never had iambic pentameter before. So there are some puzzles in the game as well, and a lot of the puzzles are handled in a physics-based way where it would just be like, can we actually get under here? They're handled in like a physics-based way where it's like, move this switch over here, or move this grate over here, this crate over here, so that then you can, you know, hit this switch. That was a very convoluted way of explaining that, and I apologize. But yeah, it'd be like, move this box over here, now you can jump out to that place you couldn't jump to before. That's, you know, that is what it is. We got some more rough rubies there. that is what it is, and some people are going to be okay with that, and some people aren't. Either way. Let's turn off these things, I guess, because I keep getting hit like an idiot. And come on, Aurora, you can do it. Ooh, I am dumb, but this should give us more HP. Thank you very much. And we'll turn these off. Oh, I got hit again. I'm actually not happy about that. Let's ignore this spider for now. I should be able to just get this chest open and get that elixir for free. Some of the puzzles, and I haven't really mentioned this, but although I've wanted to, are a little bit more like shadow-based, and that plays more into the name of the game, of course, but are also the most interesting puzzles in the game by far, as opposed to just like moving switches around. Oh my lord. I am taking the dumbest damage of all fucking time. Now, we'll just get all these, and if we get them in order again, it allows me to get that HP, which will save me from being a total idiot. And this looks like more of a shadow-based kind of cool puzzle, so let's see if I'm right there. There's a little MP that I didn't see before. So typically, yes, so you would shine the flashlight, not the flashlight here, but you would shine the light from the firefly in such a way as to create a shadow in order to maybe light up this whole area here. Oh, this is not what I meant to, I am an idiot. Let's get our meter back up here. I do have items that will allow me to get more of a firefly meter as well. So what we have to do, we can stand in the same place. Get this part up here. That's where it belongs. And then this part, where does this go? Over here. Okay, and that opens this door. So they're not necessarily super difficult, but they are kind of interesting. More interesting than just moving a box into an area, which the game is guilty of using a lot, and it's kind of a tired trope, but whatever. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess, but it's not the most engaging part of the game. We'll get our extra HP here, and I'll try to be less of an idiot, because if I'm gonna, you know, go out and say that one of the boilerplate negatives of the game is the fact that it's too easy, I should probably not be taking god-awful damage. So we have a fight here, obviously coming up against a fire enemy. Seems like it would be prudent to remove fire gems from what I have going on here and maybe put a water gem down there instead. And we can get extra max HP and increase fire resistance. Actually, we should remove that one and put that one on there. Same for you. Let's get your fire resistance up, and water seems like that would be a very smart attack to have. Alright, and then we'll do the same thing we always do that makes things a little easy. We'll stun the dog with the firefly, and then walk in to get a surprise strike. So we'll try to take out the fire dog first. And again, it might be best for us to actually swap fighters here, but I'm not going to do that because I really like the kind of system we've got going on already. Of course you're vulnerable to water. You're a dog made out of fire. I mean, it just seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? I can probably get maybe even 2 interruptions here. So we're going to slash on this guy. Oh, no, I didn't get nearly close enough to actually interrupt there. And we're going to tumble on you. And we did manage to get that attack in to get that interruption done if you followed that bar at the bottom. So we got pretty lucky there. I attacked the wrong unit there. I meant to attack the dog. Interface usually pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes I do find it a little bit cumbersome. Here's an interruption. Well, actually, it's just a death, so we pretty much can just stick to our standard attacks here, and I think we'll be totally fine. Notice we got hit by a status effect. We could, like, cure that if we want to, but I don't think it's going to end up being a major part of this narrative. We might be able to get an interruption here with our Jester. Yeah, we are, assuming we hit, and we killed him. Alrighty then. So, weirdly enough, it's been kind of a short video for a game of this size, I think, but I don't think there's necessarily that much more that I need to show off with respect to Child of Light. You probably know by now whether or not this is your cup of tea. I like it so far. It's one of the few games, like percentage or proportional-wise, that I play. I didn't know you could open the chest with the... oh, whoops. Didn't know that you could open the chest with the Firefly, actually. That's kind of convenient. It's one of the few games that I play for the channel that I probably will end up finishing, or at least playing a little bit more of off-camera, depending on how long it is. And that's a pretty glowing endorsement in and of itself. I don't think this will end up being one of my favorite games of the year, but I have enjoyed it reasonably well so far. Its narrative is pretty strong. The way... oh, I went the wrong way there. The turn-based battle system, fine. I do have some problems with the difficulty of the game, and the way that it kind of handles getting into battles, but apart from that, I think it's pretty good. I know this has kind of been like a love it or hate it type game that not necessarily everybody is going to be into, so I encourage you to check out other reviews and stuff like that. But so far, I'm having a good time. Maybe it'll wear out its welcome eventually. And again, full disclosure, I do, at this point, after like another half hour of this, only have about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours into the game. But in any case, I like it. I think it's pretty good. You can find it on your platform of choice in all likelihood. You can also check out the video description below for a Steam link to pick it up on the store. Yes, it has to boot through Uplay. If that bothers you, don't pick it up, I guess. I really am getting kind of graded with Uplay, primarily because the Uplay netcode, the functionality that it uses for its netcode apparently just doesn't work for me. Assassin's Creed 4 multiplayer rarely worked for me. Splinter Cell Blacklist had a ton of trouble connecting to people who had different NAT settings, including, you know, people in the same house as me, which seems crazy. This game's single player only, though, so that doesn't really bother me that much, although it is, you know, an extra software program that you have to boot. But in any case, I think Child of Light is pretty good. You can check it out on Steam at the link in the video description below. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button. It helps out a lot. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.